I'm joined now by international relations scholar, Professor John Mearsheimer. Professor Mearsheimer, great to have you back on Uncensored.
Alright guys, welcome back to another video. This one's interesting because this interview with Piers Morgan doesn't go the way it usually does. He comes in trying to push the usual moral framing around Gaza, and pretty quickly you can tell it's just not landing.
I'm glad to be back, Piers.
It feels like a day of history today. What is your assessment of the ceasefire, of the dramatic release of all remaining living hostages, and of the scenes in the Knesset with President Trump? What is your view of it all?
Well, I could make a number of points. First of all, it's wonderful to see the hostages released for their sake and for their families' sake. And it's wonderful to see the Palestinian prisoners released as well. That is all a net positive. In terms of President Trump and his performance in the Israeli Knesset, it was vintage Trump. He's one of the greatest showmen of all time. His ability to put on a rock and roll show is just not to be underestimated. I don't think there's any other politician in our history or on the planet at this point in time who can operate before an audience as well as he does.
Yeah.
Now, with regard to substance, which is, of course, the key issue, I think that this hostage exchange, this temporary ceasefire and hostage exchange is definitely a move forward. But the two critical questions on the table are, number one, will you get a permanent ceasefire? Will the ceasefire hold? And then number two, will you get a genuine peace agreement at the end of this entire process? And I think there is zero chance you'll get a peace agreement. And I think the chances that this ceasefire will hold are not good at all.
Why?
Well, the Israelis are bent on destroying Hamas, and more importantly, they're bent on ethnically cleansing the Palestinians from Gaza. That's their principal goal. They have not defeated Hamas, and there's no way that they're going to end up disarming and defeating Hamas as a result of this ceasefire. It's just not going to happen, and I can explain why. And furthermore, the Israelis are not going to completely leave Gaza as long as Hamas is not defeated. And given that situation, coupled with the fact that Netanyahu and company are determined to drive the Palestinians out of Gaza, it's only a matter of time, I think, I hope I'm wrong, I think, before the ceasefire breaks down and we're back to conflict. By the way, Piers, you want to remember, right before President Trump took office, he took office on January 20th. On January 19th, a ceasefire was put into place. And that ceasefire lasted until March 18th when the Israelis broke it. But over the course of that ceasefire, the January to March 2025 ceasefire, 33 Israeli prisoners were released and 5 Thai prisoners were released. So we have a precedent here. But the fact is, after this earlier hostage exchange, it broke down, the ceasefire broke down, and you were back to the genocide. And my great fear is that that's what will happen this time.
The thing that I was most concerned about in the last few months was the increasing rhetoric from the likes of Smotrich and Ben-Gvir in the Israeli government, the hard right element of that government, where they were talking in the most brazen way about ethnic cleansing. I mean, they were making it crystal clear that they now saw the mission as kicking Palestinians out, cleansing Gaza, as they put it, and taking that land, which they believed is, their religious right. But what's interesting to me is today, coupled with all the scenes of hostages going home and Trump in the Knesset and so on, you also saw thousands of Palestinians going back into where their remains of their homes are to try and start rebuilding their lives. That is not consistent with my fear that Israel was really plotting to expel them all and keep them out. Are you not encouraged by the scenes of so many Palestinians being allowed to go back to where their homeland was?
John Mearsheimer doesn't get emotional, doesn't dodge, doesn't raise his voice. He just calmly sticks to his position and refuses to move. Watch closely. Piers keeps rephrasing, keeps pressing from different angles, trying to force some kind of concession, and nothing changes.
It's hard not to feel good about seeing the Palestinians return to their homes. It warms the cockles of my heart, although it's terribly depressing to see what's happened to their homes. But the more important question, Piers, is what is the political settlement here? There are two big questions. Who is going to run Gaza? In other words, is there going to be Palestinian self-determination? Are the Palestinians going to run Gaza? That's number one. And then number two, what is the political horizon? What is the end game here? And with regard to the question of who is going to run Gaza now, it's not going to be the Palestinians. It's going to be President Trump and apparently Tony Blair, and some of the Arab armies in the neighborhood are going to provide security. But the Palestinians are not going to have self-determination here. They're not going to run Gaza. And then, more importantly, in terms of the long term, there's not going to be any two-state solution. There's no political solution here. So this one's just going to go on and on.
I mean, you're very downbeat about it, but others who are involved at the sort of sharp end of negotiations, they do believe that out of the hell of the last 2 years, there is a genuine opportunity and a genuine collective will from the neighboring Arab and Muslim countries, including Turkey, Egypt, UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, to try and use this as a way of getting to a two-state solution. Why are you so pessimistic about it?
I mean, Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it unequivocally clear on countless occasions that there's not going to be a two-state solution.
He has, but what if he's not there?
Unequivocally. It's a position that's widely shared in Israel. And after what's happened over the past 2 years, do you think any Israeli is going to be interested in a two-state solution? Probably the number you can count on one hand. It's just not going to happen. The Israelis have already de facto annexed Gaza and de facto annexed the West Bank. Their principal goal now is to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians out of those two areas. The idea of ethnically cleansing Greater Israel has been wired into Zionism from the very beginning. This is why you had massive ethnic cleansing in 1948 and 1967. And here, after 2023, you had a big war, and the Israelis always see big wars as an opportunity to ethnically cleanse, and that's what they are trying to do.
Okay, but there are two things I would say about that which may counter that rather doom-laden narrative. One is President Trump, who has set his stall and his reputation and his legacy on this being a lasting peace. This is, by his own admission on the plane Air Force One last night, this is the biggest moment of his life that's unfurling here. And I think he is determined to try and bring lasting peace. And he is key to Israel's ability to continue prosecuting a war against Hamas or to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. He's made it clear there can be no annexing of the West Bank. The Palestinians must be allowed to return home. So I'm encouraged by that.
And that's what makes this uncomfortable. Not because it's heated, but because the usual pressure just doesn't work. Whether you agree with him or not, this is one of those moments where the format breaks and the conversation just hits a wall. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.